battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Cell groupies and Pokemon game masters know car monsters, otherwise known as car noises, can be hard to track. But don't ignore them, or they could haunt you with costly repairs. Why? Because sophisticated onboard computers initially overcompensate for and consequently mask underlying problems, and by the time you actually hear a noise, damage may already be done. Another tip? Catch intermittent rattles dead in their tracks by sharing a record of time, place, and conditions under which they occur with your technician. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Name famous pairs made for each other. Adam and Eve, Shula and Marino, hydrogen and oxygen. Now name a couple that's lethal together, driving and drinking. When I come back, I'll tell you more about them.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Drinking and driving 101 is simple. Don't do it. But how do you recognize this deadly duo on the road? Here's how. Watch for drivers who turn with wide radius, straddle the center, tightly grip the steering wheel, weave, swerve, or drive on the shoulder, and, this may be a surprise, drive more slowly than 10 miles per hour below the speed limit. Now the syllabus for Drinking and Driving 102 is courtesy of Coors Brewing Company. Before you celebrate, designate. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. When the Beatles sang, "Let's do it in the road," I'm sure they didn't mean this. You'll be surprised at some of the things people do while driving. And when I come back, I'll tell you.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
On crowded byways, we often do the stop-and-go shuffle. But dancing in your car? Yes. A Pennzoil survey reports we Americans spend over an hour a day in traffic and entertain ourselves in amusing but often dangerous ways. 41% groom, hair, makeup, even change clothes and shave. 40% read. And some were caught playing the harmonica and letting dogs pretend drive. Cute. But for safety's sake, as you ease on down the road, leave the entertainment to your radio. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Many teens' parents spell nightmare driver's license. But you can rest better by preparing your teen for the thrill and responsibility of driving. When we come back, I'll tell you how.
O'Reilly.
When When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Getting a driver's license is a landmark for teenagers and parents. Though all teens aren't reckless, they do lack experience and judgment. As parents, restrict driving during high-risk times. Be aware, most teenage fatalities occur on Saturdays. Treat your teen to a computerized driving course. Virtual crashes may prevent real ones. And most important, drive with your teenager. And just as in life, point out pitfalls you observe. That way, both you and your teen can have sweet dreams. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Ford's Model T, Seinfeld's Saab, and even the Batmobile can't hold a candle to a dune buggy that's truly out of this world. When we come back, I'll interview the man who knows all about it.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Bobby Likis here with a man on the moon. Man, tell us about that famous dune buggy.
Well, thanks, Bobby. Yes, Rover, short for Lunar Roving Vehicle, made quite an impression here on the moon. The astronauts used it to explore our surface and collect rocks.
Did they get any speeding tickets?
Oh, no. Though Rover had a sophisticated computer, its power source was just a couple of 36-volt batteries, so top speed was only 8 miles an hour. And there was no need to worry about flats. Rover's wire-meshed wheels were treaded with titanium.
Wow, sounds like Rover was one far-out ride. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Good morning, folks. Welcome to this edition. I started to say this show, but it's this edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, or whichever way you prefer. We have Kevin in the house today, who's sitting in for Miss Hannah. So when you call 888 Car Clinic, you will hear, a man answer versus a woman. And Kevin's sometimes sits in Fabio's seat, our producer. And so Kevin wears a lot of hats, and Fabio wears all the hats. Jonathan is actually putting on more and more hats every. Would you say that, Fabio? I would say that he is.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So we've got 3 guys, well, 4, including yours truly, in the house today. So we'd like to invite you. Remember, today is the day we give away from PowerTech the Super Chip Dash Pack Plus. That's a $539 plus product, and it works. So more about that a little later in the program. You'll have to call with a question and put your name in the hat, and then the second hour we'll give it away. Somebody's going to be a lucky owner of a dash pack today. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by Berryman Products. If your vehicle is a little sluggish or experiencing poor fuel economy, try Berryman B12 Chem Tool featuring its exclusive HEST or high energy solvent technology. Berryman B12 Chem Tool helps clean your fuel system and can result in higher compression, fewer repairs, and lower operating costs. Learn more at berrymanproducts.com. Your calls when I come back. Why CarStar? Today's vehicles offer comforts and conveniences never imagined 20 years ago. Backup cameras, entertainment systems, start-stop technology, the list goes on. These technologies help avoid accidents. But what happens after a crash? Growth in electronic vehicle content adds to the collision repair cost and complexity. Damage a side view mirror or paint a bumper, and you may change the trajectory of that sensor. Adaptive headlights are another example. They actually turn the corner with you as you're turning the corner. The price for these headlights can reach $2,000. Now, more than ever, it's important to follow automaker guidelines for vehicle repairs. Don't compromise vehicle safety. CarStar is North America's largest multi-shop operator of independently owned repair facilities. CarStar delivers consistently high-quality repairs and the industry's highest customer satisfaction ratings. At CarStar, they don't just repair cars, they repair your car. Learn more at carstar.com. Cooling systems take a beating when it gets cold. We recently had a customer come in with a 3.5 Chrysler engine with a cracked head. Parts and labor totaled just under $3,000. We suggested K-Seal, and it worked. You've heard me talk about K-Seal before. It's a simple pour-in solution added directly to the radiator when cool. You then run the engine till the leak is stopped. K-Seal isn't just any stop leak. It's a certified leak repair and preventative formula designed and tested to stop cooling system leaks. K-Seal features a ceramic technology which makes it non-clogging but highly effective. Engine temps range from -20 to 220 above in just minutes. It's during these times that cracked blocks and heads fail. We've had customers who were ready to scrap their vehicles, then tried K-Seal and were able to continue driving their automobiles. Log on to K-Seal for more information, including videos and the many different applications. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it. That's kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle loaded or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow. Now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake, and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your hosts, Bobby Likis.
And welcome to the program. Glad to have you join us today. 888 Car Clinic is the number to call. Last week, I teased the giveaway for the Super Chips Dash Pack. And so let me share that with you because today is the event. And a little strange things happen. I got a call this week, during the week. And Fabio, I don't think I told you this, but a gentleman called from California, and he says, left a number, and I returned the call, which I always do, as quickly as I possibly can. So, folks, here's the story. So a gentleman called from California and says, well, I've got an Astro van in 1996 or 7. I think it was 96 or 7. Will that Super Chips, tuner, will that work in my vehicle? And, of course, it would not. But anyway, because if it was, he was wanting to claim it. I said, well, we haven't given it away yet. It's going to be this coming week. Oh, I didn't hear that part. And so the moral of the story is, folks, that a lot of times when you're listening to talk radio, and that's what this is, talk radio versus music, you can listen to music radio with music in the background and enjoy the music and still carry on conversation, but you cannot listen to talk radio without listening to it. You can't double duty to an extent, because what you miss are key words. So a lot of times, folks, you'll hear callers call in with a problem with their car, and I'll go through the repair, and then sometimes I'll go through it, at length, and that's because my belief is, my experience and my belief is that you ask a question about a specific issue with your car. Let's say that you got a check engine light on. Well, what causes that? Well, we could talk for 10 hours about what causes the single check engine light, because if you left a gas cap off or loose, or it was a defective seal on the gas cap because the emissions, the system is sealed, if you left it loose or otherwise leaked, that light would come on. And then if you had, say, an oxygen sensor that was bad, which would really have an effect on the running of the vehicle, the gas cap would have no effect on the running of the vehicle. And the oxygen sensor would make the light come on. The light won't get any brighter. It's the same light. And then if you had a cam sensor that was defective, the same light would still be on, but it won't get any brighter. So I think it would be kind of cool to have like some digital gas gauges, like in the smart car. They're eighth of a tank. They're 8 little digits there, so 8 little blocks. And so if you're looking at, say you're on the 6th block, well, that's 3/4 of a tank of fuel. But if the block, if you haven't driven the car, you don't remember when the 8th block or the 7th block went out, you're on the 6th block. Remember, each one of those little blocks, which is about 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch square in the dash, are you in the front side of, the beginning of the 1/4 inch block, or are you on the very tail end of it? And so that really doesn't make any difference, because you still have 4, 5, or 6 blocks left. But when you get down to the last block, it's important. So on the smart car, when the last block, and you get down to like so many miles to empty, the block goes out, and the odometer that tells you how many miles you've put on that tank changes from, let's say you had 240 miles on that tank, that little 240 miles changes to 1 gallon. And so it shows you have 1 gallon left. And as you drive it, it says 0.9, 0.8, 0.7. And actually, having owned the second smart car in our county since 2008, we actually have driven that car where it said 0.0 miles left of gas left. And the tank holds 8.7 gallons. I've actually put 9.2 gallons in an 8.7 gallon tank. So went far beyond the distance. Anyway, so when you call in and ask a question, Jonathan's going to put your name in the hat for the Super Chips Dash Pack Plus, and it's the performance programmer from Super Chips. And folks, it has a 5-inch high-definition screen, an upgraded processor for quick read-write speed and monitor refresh rates. It's a tuner for your engine. So it is a beautiful little device. I say little because it's the size of, fits in the palm of your hand, and it plugs into the data port, and you can tune your car. It's compatible with, and here's the bottom line for those of you who drive these particular automobiles. Select GM, Ford, Dodge, Ram gasoline-powered engines. It's also compatible with the 2015, 16, 17 Ram 1500 5.7 liter and the 18 Ram 1500 5.7 liter. It's a $539 plus retail product that we're giving away, and we'll give it away at the end of the next hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So you can catch us at watchbobbylive.com. And folks, I can tell you what a great Christmas present this would be for yourself or for someone else for that matter. And I'll be pulling a name out of the hat at 11:55 Eastern time. That right? Yeah, 10 to 12. That's right, 11:55. Meantime, let's take a call from Albert with a 2010 Nissan Albert. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hi, Bobby. I appreciate you. And the chem tool you talk about is great. I put it in every 3 tank rolls.
It's a terrific product. I think, Albert, it's good to hear you say that because people don't really understand that it's a chemical solvent, and it helps to reduce what I call the polyps behind the intake valve or the carbon buildup. And, one shot doesn't do it. You've got to do it religiously and consistently because the engine, after you clean and run 1 dose of the ChemTool B12, after you run that and you run the engine, you're building the carbon right back up. So it is an accumulative process. But in my car, the challenge is I have a direct injection. So the ChemTool doesn't work the way it does in your vehicle because you have port injection, which washes the back of the intake valve. But that's for another story. What can I do for you?
Well, on my Nissan, what I do is I start it up. It starts up beautiful. I mean, just bang, right off the bat. But then it'll act like it's going to die for lack of fuel or lack of spark. I don't know which. And then if I rev it, it goes right on. If I leave it alone, sometimes it'll go past that point, and then you have no problem whatsoever. It runs just as smooth as you can think.
So does this happen only when it's cold in the morning, or will it happen after it's been run and let's say you've driven it for 30 minutes or so when you stop and get gas or take a break and you come out and it's up to operating temperature, does it act the same way cold or hot?
Cold or hot, don't make no difference.
So that would lead me to believe that it's a throttle body issue or an IAC, an intake air motor issue. And the intake air motor, there's a little gear-driven device that opens like a tracheotomy. The mouth of the engine would be the throttle plate, but in most cars, the throttle plate doesn't move and adjust the idle speed. There's an idle air control. Now, Mercedes moves the throttle plate, and it has a little motor in there, and Lexus and what have you. But in your particular vehicle, there's a idle air control that lets air in that goes around the throttle plate. So the throttle plate's fixed at idle, and it's let's say 500 RPM. Anything above 500, which a normal idle is about 750. Anything above that, you have to either open the throttle plate or you have to let air in through another door. I call it like a stage door. And so the stage door would be like a tracheotomy. It has a passageway that is controlled by the computer that operates a motor that opens a tiny door that lets air go around the throttle plate and enter the engine, so the engine has a chance to breathe and breathe faster. So here's the first thing that needs to be done. Just like the chem tool is used for the fuel system, that's called a wet application. You need to also clean the throttle body, and Behrman makes great products for that as well. You can go to BehrmanProducts.com and take a look, Albert, at what they offer and clean that throttle body. Now, you also, if you're ambitious or optimistic or just say, hey, I'm going to do this. You also want to pull the IAC motor off, and you can clean some of those motors. Some it's a waste of time, but for me, I think that what you need to do is to take a look at that motor, and if any carbon soot buildup of carbon, which there will be, then clean it. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Any questions?
Well, yeah, the Nissan dealership replaced the that little thing on the intake. It's something to do with air.
Air temperature sensor. Yeah, right.
Well, I don't think it was called a temperature, but it sits right on top. It was about $300 to replace that.
Wow. Well, take it apart, clean it, put it back together, and try it. Got a hard break, folks. Don't go away. Heated seats, backup cameras, and start-stop technology. Just a few of the electrical demands we put on today's cars. AGM or absorbent glass mat batteries are up to the challenge. They're precision engineered to offer the ultimate combination of power, durability, and reliability. Short-distance driving means your battery is not fully recharging. AGM batteries are more efficient than traditional flooded batteries when partially charged. They consume less power from the alternator. AGM, the better battery for today's vehicles. Learn more AGM advantages at autobatteries.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
The months between October and February top the list for accidents, damage, and injuries. And while safety technology on today's vehicles is great, it's no match for Mother Nature. CarStar is the authority on winter driving accidents, repairing thousands of vehicles each year damaged in snowy, icy conditions. Here are a few winter driving tips courtesy of CarStar. Check visibility. Add de-icer to your windshield washer fluid. Make sure your wipers are free of ice and all mirrors are clear, and check vehicle lighting. Slow down and stay back. Drop your speed to a safe limit and leave extra distance between your vehicle and the one in front of you. And if your rear wheels skid, take your foot off the accelerator and steer in the direction you want your front wheels to go. If your front wheels skid, take your foot off the gas and shift to neutral. As you skid sideways, the vehicle will slow and traction will return. Find more safety tips at carstar.com. At CarStar, they don't just repair cars, they repair your car.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
Higher, 98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So if you have a car question, 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. Kevin will take your call, put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. Let's go to Washington and take a call from Mike. Mike, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning, Bobby.
Morning, sir.
I actually have two cars that I wanted to ask you about, and I'll try to be quick. The first, I've got a 1966 Chrysler Imperial that I've talked to you about before. This car was parked for several years, and somebody popped the hood and stole the spark plug wires while it was parked.
Right.
And we, picked up plug wires and put them on there, and we couldn't get it to run. And we, tried this and tried that and tried this, and a friend through a friend suggested, try putting the plug wires on 180 opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be damned if that thing didn't fire up and run. Have you run into that before?
Well, yes, and here's why. For the engine turns over one time, and the cam turns over half of a time. So you could put an engine on top dead center, and it would either be on the overlap stroke when it was on the. In other words, it's a 4-stroke engine. So you've got the piston comes up, and the crankshaft is on top dead center. Well, top dead center is top dead center. That means the piston is always at top dead center, but doesn't mean that the cam is in time with compression stroke, which is the firing stroke. So what you could have done that two ways, and actually what you did was you put one, you plugged in the plug wires 180 out. So you had the plug wires properly, more than likely, it depends on the firing order, you had the plug wires properly inserted, except the engine, the camshaft was on the overlap stroke, it wasn't on the compression stroke. And so when you move the wires, and you could have done the same thing if you'd pulled the distributor out and moved the distributor 180 degrees. You wouldn't do that. So it's the simplest thing to do. And going forward, for those of you who are tuned in, that if you ever want to really find out where the compression stroke is, take the number one spark plug out, and you got to know if it's left bank or right bank. For instance, on Ford, the right bank, the right bank is 1, and on GM the left bank is 1. And Mike, a Ford is 154-26378. And a Chevrolet is 184-36572, and a Chrysler is 184-36572. It's the same as the GM. So here's the bottom line. You go to number one hole, where the spark plug is, and pull the plug out and put your finger in the hole. I mean, you don't put it in far enough. You just put it in to block the hole, and you bump the starter over. And when the piston comes up on compression, it'll go, it'll push your thumb out, or because it's it's compressed air, right? So you'll know that when you bump it, and you feel this compression pushing your fingers, like run a compression test. You look down at the crankshaft and bring it up to top dead center. Then you take the cap off. This is if you don't know where the number one position is on the cap. You take the cap off and see where the rotor is pointing, and that's number one. And then you put in the number one spark plug wire, and that's 1. And then you go from number 1 to number 8. So number 1 is going to be on the left side. And remember, GM and Chrysler goes 1357 on the right side, 2468. So the number 1 plug wire would go to the left front cylinder, and then the next one, depending on the rotation of the distributor, counterclockwise or clockwise, the next terminal would go to number 8, and that's how. And then you carry it through from there. But I will tell you, there's not a mechanic in the house, a technician in the house that hasn't lost or singed eyebrows when the engine goes poof, 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 because it's firing the wrong cylinder at the wrong time. Anyway, so that's why that happened. What was your other question?
We have a 2006 Dodge Charger SRTA. The car's an absolute rocket ship.
Yeah.
And purchased it used, but the transmission shifts like at way too low of an RPM unless you knock it over into the manual mode and shift it.
Right.
So it's like it always bogs. And, took it, had the dealership service the transmission, the fluid, and the filter and everything. And they said, oh, no, that, it's just how these drive. That's just normal. But it just, I don't know. It makes it feel sluggish. But, man, you knock it in the manual mode, you got to hang on to something.
Well, see, that's a tender spot for me because all cars are manufactured to upshift early and easy and slide into gears. Number one, when you go to drive a new car, if you have a used car, if you drove the new car, I mean, unless it's a Viper or a Vet or something like that, when you go to drive a new car, if it went bam, 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 which is really, I like that hard shift, firm shift, not hard, firm, and that's what you really miss in your easy shift in the normal mode. The manufacturers want the car to be comfortable and slide through the gears because they know that being the gearhead, I guess you are, or at least the person who likes cars, you know that you can lock it in the mode or use a paddle shifter, which is what I do in my car. That very same operational methodology is what I don't like about my current car, but it has an 8-speed with paddle shifters, so I'll use the paddle shifters. If I wait until it shifts itself, it'll, but if I catch it under duress or under that moderate guttural throttle, when you really, the cams come on and your timing comes on and you see the pants, it's drawing you away, and early, if you hit the paddle shifter, it'll bang into the next gear. I like to do that because it reminds me of the power that it has, and it's demonstrative of the power. If you drive it normal, it's supposed to shift early because the earlier you can get a car into the final gear, the better the gas mileage. And to that end, when the smart car, which had a terrible standard transmission, electronically controlled, when the smart car was delivered to the United States, and we have one, it was so poor that there were so many complaints that Mercedes, who makes a smart car, came out with a dealer update on the shifting. And when you went to the dealer with its complaint of the transmission shifting too early and those sorts of things, they would tell you, we're going to modify the shift, but you're going to lose 2 miles per gallon. And so it was because that people who, if you get 40 or 42, who cares? If you're getting 40 miles a gallon, 42 is just not an issue once you get into a certain threshold. So that's why that's why your car is designed that way. And there's nothing wrong with it, but I'm with you on the fact that, like we talk about the dash pack that I'm giving away, the super chips, those programmers affect the timing and the fuel, and which also affects the transmission shift. So we put a super chips. Actually, it was the Diablo Sport tuner in an F-150 aluminum F-150 15 EcoBoost Ford, and it would chirp the tires in second gear. I'm telling you, nice. we loved it. Anyway, hey, thanks for your call, and those are great questions, and I hope that explanation helps everyone understand that when the car comes from the factory, it's detuned, just like the diesels. I mean, you can put a dash pack programmer in a diesel and pick up 2 miles per gallon and 150 foot-pound of torque over the factory because they're detuned. You got it?
Thank you, Bobby.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for your call. We'll take a call from Pete, and then we'll take your calls at 888-227-2546. Good morning, Pete. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hey, it's actually Keith, but it's okay. Thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I've got a 1994 Explorer, and I've had it since it was brand new, and it's been through some repair. I did put new heads on it a couple of years ago and did a lot of work on it. It still runs good, but intermittently it will rough idle and run a little rough. I put new oxygen sensors on it, and I put a new IAC on it.
Right.
But I keep getting a cylinder identification code, and not exactly sure. I think it has something to do with maybe the camshaft position sensor, but I'm not sure about that. I didn't know if you had any suggestions on that.
Well, the cylinder identification code would be, there are two sensors that allow engines to run and be tuned. One is the crankshaft position sensor, which is what I was just telling the first caller about, putting your hand in the spark plug or your finger and feeling the compression poof come up. As the piston slowly bumps, you bump the starter and it comes up. So when that piston on compression stroke gets to top dead center, that crankshaft position sensor knows. And it knows where the crank is 360 degrees, because there's like a gear in a watch or a clock where you have cogs and there are little dips, and the probe for the crankshaft position sensor is electromagnetic, and it creates an electromagnetic pulse, and every time the crankshaft window, there's a little window there like a gear. Every time the void goes by, it triggers that pulse, and then the next one, because it's metal. It's the same way that ABS brakes work, because there's a speedometer, and that's how they use a magnetic pickup. It's an ingenious invention for sure. And those things do give problems. So you've got a crankshaft position sensor so that the computer knows where the crankshaft is, and then you've got a camshaft position sensor so that it knows which stroke it's on, crossover stroke or compression stroke. So therein lies the potential for your problem. Have you ever replaced the camshaft position sensor?
No, I haven't.
That's what I would do. And Pete, there's one other thing, and your 94 doesn't have this, but in the later model cars, there are cam phasers, and a cam phaser, this is not Captain Kirk stuff. This is real. My car has cam phasers, and a cam phaser uses hydraulic oil under pressure to operate the forward and aft movement of the gear. So on the camshaft, on all the cams. So you got a camshaft that is splined onto the gear, but that camshaft has slots in it, and it can rock back and forth. So you can actually move the camshaft on the gear so that the camshaft itself changes timing. It's ingenious because at lower RPM, the engines thrive on timing that is not compatible with higher RPM. That's why you have race cams that idle rough, and there's more. Hey, don't go away. I'll come back and then we'll take more calls. Pete, you stay there as well. We recently sat down with Kate Searlick, Global Product Management Lead with Johnson Controls. Kate talked about the advantages of AGM batteries, noting they outperform traditional flooded batteries when partially charged, a key benefit if your normal driving consists of shorter trips. Let's hear from Kate.
Today's charging systems are not negatively affected by installing an AGM battery, and no modifications are needed for the alternator or the charging system. In fact, an AGM battery actually performs better when partially charged than a standard flooded battery. This means if you're not driving long enough distances to fully charge the battery, an AGM battery more efficiently performs and not consume additional power from the alternator. We were able to validate this in fleet testing we conducted in Las Vegas, where we witnessed AGM batteries providing up to twice the service life of a standard flooded battery.
AGM batteries help meet the electrical demands put on today's vehicles, and Johnson Controls is the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries. Learn more at autobatteries.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment, folks. I will be giving away during, not this segment, but this same segment next hour. So if your local radio station, AM and or FM, does not carry both hours, you can go to watchbobbylive.com on your phone or on your computer and tune in. It's a Super Chips Dash Pack Plus. It's a way cool tuner that works. It's a $539 plus, and it works for select GM, Ford, Dodge, Ram gas powered, and also compatible with the 17 Ram 1500 and the 5.7, which is the 5.7 liter, and the Ram 1500 for 2018. So for me, if you drive a diesel, it's a must-have. If you drive a gasoline, which is my preference, it's a gotta-have because you get more power. You know, and you get better gas mileage if you can keep your right foot out of the accelerator. Let's go back to Keith, and then we're going to take a call from Joseph and Rodney. Keith, so I thought about through the break what I would recommend. Here's what I recommend for your cylinder identification error code. Okay, you ready?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I want you to replace the camshaft position sensor.
Okay.
And afterwards, and a shop will have to do this, but it should not be expensive at all. Have a service shop use a professional scan tool and relearn the idle and cam and crankshaft position sensor program. There's a relearn in there for idle. In fact, often we'll replace a battery in a car, and this happened to me years ago, and a gentleman, actually it was one of the Blue Angels pilots that came in that had I think it was at that time a Nissan, and we replaced his battery. And it was all cool, parked it out front, and he came to get it that afternoon, and he came back in and says, Bobby, I've trained this thing here, you know, nicest guy. He says, since you put a new battery in my car, it won't idle. Really? And that was way back years ago. And so it would not idle because it had to relearn. And as it turns out, my Viper that I've since sold, on occasion I would have a dead battery, and whenever I did, and it ran down the battery long enough so that when you hit the starter, it go, you know, and that dreaded no voltage, that would kill the program in the ECM, in electronic control, in the onboard computer, and it would not idle, and you'd have to keep it idling at about 1,500 RPM with the gas pedal to let it, and finally it would learn it on its own. But what a pain that was. So that's what I want you to do. Have a shop perform a relearn on the crankshaft and the position and the camshaft position and the idle, and that should take care of the problem. Okay?
Okay. And quick question, with that cam sensor, you know, it's got a mechanical portion, it's got a sensor that sits on top.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's, if it turns out to be that, do you think it's the mechanical portion causing the problem, or just the sensor on top?
I hope not, because now you're getting into tearing the engine down and timing change, and you got to pull the front of the cover off, and that's beyond your pay grade.
Oh, I mean, that cam sensor is at the back of the motor, and you have to pull the upper intake manifold off to even get to it.
Yeah,
you know, so. And it's a pain in the neck. I mean,
well, then why don't you try to relearn? Why don't you try the relearn process first?
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, that's less painful. I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
That's expensive.
Okay, my friend.
Thank you for helping.
You're welcome. See ya. Okay, next caller up is Rodney from South Carolina. Rodney, thank you for your patience. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Well, thank you, Bobby. I just want to tell you, you make great car sounds. You must have a lot of practice.
I have broken every part. I mean, in my extended career, I've been in the business professionally for 47 years, and then prior to that, you know, I was 13 years old. I was tinkering with found an old lawnmower in a home that my folks had rented, 2-story in Birmingham, Alabama, and it was one of those. It was a reel device, self-powered, reel-to-reel, with a little lawnmower engine on top. Of course, it wouldn't run, and I was young enough that I could pull the crank and try to start it probably 500 times over a period of a week. I finally took it apart, and Rodney, I didn't replace any parts or any gaskets. I just took it apart and I cleaned everything and put it back together, and I got it to run. Now it wasn't easy to crank because it really needed rings, but I didn't really know anything about ring pressure and cylinder finish and all that at that time. But I did make that thing run, and I was never so proud of myself to make it run. And fast forward, one quick note, bear with me. Fast forward to 2011, I think it was 11, and a friend of mine who was in charge of the Moon Rover project, the new Moon Rover at Johnson Space Center, got me connected, and I drove over from Pensacola to Houston, which is a long drive, and I got to drive the Moon Rover. So from a 13-year-old that didn't know anything about anything but had the passion for cars, to an older person who loves cars and still do to this day, I got to drive a Moon Rover, and to that end, I actually got it stuck. And I was never so proud of myself a second time, because there was at Johnson Space Center, there's a hill there that is modified and built to like the lunar surface, and there was a big rock. And this is a 3-legged or 6-legged machine, and so the center leg has to lift up, obviously, if you're going to crawl over something. And all of the axles that support this device have motors, and they use pressure sensors so that it can crawl over using the pressure sensor. And if it's over 5 psi differential, it lifts it lifts one leg, or it pushes one leg down, and there's a limit to what the center leg. And I put that unit right in the center, and there was someone from Johnson Space Center walking behind us, and she actually took over manual control of the device and lifted the other or push the other legs down to lift that one leg. I thought it was really neat. Axles we're talking about. Anyway, what's your question of me?
Bobby, I heard you a while back talk about the GM multi-displacement engines having a problem with the oil pressure sending unit having a screen below it that stops up.
Yep.
And you had a little comment at the end of it. You said you had a fix for it. You didn't want to mention it. My son has that 2014, and at over 50,000, he ran into the same problem. The local service shop pointed him to the parking lot and says, "Yep, I got 4 or 5 of them out there with the same problem."
Mm-hmm.
And now, that was 2 years ago,
mm-hmm.
and now the problem, they replaced what needed to be replaced, and now it's back again. So my question is, since this vehicle is out of warranty,
mm-hmm.
Can that screen just be plucked out and said, hey, we just won't have a screen?
In my heart of hearts, from a technical standpoint, the engineers had to put that screen in there for some reason, but in my heart of hearts, given the history of those vehicles, and I'll tell you, Rodney, the GM dealers and the aftermarket parts makers have sold more lifters for that particular engine, and you got to pull the head to get the lifter out. I mean, really? So the answer to your question is, I don't. If the oil is changed religiously, and then I see no reason to leave the old screen. But also, when you think about it, what would stop the screen up if the screen had been replaced? What would stop the screen up? So before I would say, yeah, pluck it out. And by the way, it's not easy to find, because number one, you're supposed to remove the intake manifold to gain access to that oil pressure switch. But if you've done one before, you can reach back there and blindly, get it out. The problem is, once you get the oil pressure switch out, which is like a little, normal switch. Yeah. In that hole, up in that hole is a conical shaped screen, so you have to use a pick, with a little hook on it, and pick that screen out. So what I would, before I would just discard the old one, I would look at if anything is in it, because that doesn't mean that is the problem here. There's another issue that also those engines have, and you'd have to ask your son if this problem exists. When you crank the car up morning cold, is the oil pressure like 0 or 4 or 5 or 6 psi, and then you coax it, and finally after it wakes up, the oil pressure comes up, and once it comes up, it stays up the rest of the day, but it's erratic in behavior. That would indicate that the O-ring, see, the crankshaft drives the oil pump on his car, on his engine. So that means that we have to get oil, we have to draw oil from the bottom of the pan through a long tube that's about 18 inches long, up into the bottom of the block of the engine and into a passageway. Well, that tube has an O-ring, because otherwise, like if you've ever smoked a cigarette that had a hole in the side of it, all you get's air. You know, it doesn't work. So that O-ring, when it's cold, it's hard, it leaks, but it doesn't leak oil because it's an oil sealer. It lets air be drawn because it's easier to draw air than to draw oil from the pan. So the fix is to pull the pan, replace the pickup screen and tube if it's dirty. You can clean it, but we don't clean them. We just replace them because they're new, and there's stuff in there that you can't get out. And besides, it's a time issue. It takes you an hour to properly clean it, or half an hour. So we replace the pickup tube with a known new one, and then we put, of course, the new O-ring, and the new O-ring is either green and the old one was red, or vice versa. And so there's a fix. That's the two fixes for that engine. You got it?
I got it. Well, I'll just give you my little short story.
Okay. I wish I could do that.
You mentioned reaching back there where it's blind.
Yes, sir.
Where you have to reach back in the hole. Well,
right.
I'm one of those people that been messing with cars most of my life. I'm now blind, so everything I reach is without sight. Gives me a great advantage when I'm reaching in places where I don't have to look.
Well, that's amazing that, Rodney, you're the second person that I know. From time to time, there's a gentleman in New Mexico, and we have a station there.
Yeah, I've heard him.
Yeah, he's actually been on ABC, and he's a blind mechanic, and I don't know how that works. I don't know how, congratulations for you to be able to do that. You must remember from your days, in your early days, what that's like, and
well, I do, but the only problem is you're kind of stuck in time. You messing with these old GM engines, and it's a whole different world.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thanks a lot, Bobby.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing that information from South Carolina, from Rodney. And to that end, I'm going to go to Joseph's call next, but I want to welcome to Pensacola, Florida, Nana and Ron Shaw, not from South Carolina, but from North Carolina. These folks drove this week. They drove from Boone, North Carolina, to Pensacola, Florida, a 13-hour drive, to have us inspect their vehicle. And Ron always wanted an Avalanche, and he bought a used one with a lot of miles on it, and he told me he was going to do this, and I said, well, we'll welcome you, and we did. And he and his wife Nana came in yesterday morning, and we spent half a day with them, or they spent a half a day with us, and we inspected the vehicle. Now, I'm not really happy with the results, so he's gonna stay over, and he and his wife are staying over this weekend, and Monday we're going to address the issues that we found on the vehicle. Quite a few issues that we found. In fact, he drove the vehicle up in the service, and I got in it, like a kid in a toy, and cranked it, and it cranked once, and I cranked it, didn't sound right, and cranked again, and it refused to crank. And it just had a new battery put in, but the bolt, which is typical of a GM car, the bolt had its head rounded off, and the positive cable wasn't tight, and it went click, click, click. And they were talking with our team and what have you, and everyone looked at the truck and looked at me. I didn't break it. Hey, I just got in it and turned the key. So anyway, special welcome from all of the Car Clinic service team and all the Car Clinic network team this morning to Nana and Ron Shaw from Boone, North Carolina. That's a long way to drive to have your car inspected. A lot of confidence here and a lot of responsibility on us, and we're going to handle it. Joseph, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thank you for holding. It's your turn.
Oh, thank you, Bobby. Bobby, I have a 98 Lincoln Town Car, and it's got about 92,000 miles on it. I got a power window switch that works sometimes. It'll work for 2 months. It might work for 2 weeks, and then the next day it'll quit working, and then the next day it starts working again for a while.
Okay, quick question.
And
quick
and
question.
It happens the same with the passenger side door too. You know, that switch acts the same way when the driver's side switch acts that way.
Okay, which window doesn't work?
The window on the driver's side.
So it's the driver's front door window.
I mean, I'm sorry. It's the window on the passenger side.
Okay. All right. So the window on the passenger side, when it doesn't operate, it will not operate from the master switch on the driver's door or its own switch, right?
Exactly.
Okay. It's not the switch, it's the motor.
Oh.
That's a common motor, and you can replace the motor, or you can replace the motor with regulator, and that is the way to go, because the labor involved, and you have to cut rivets out of that door. They've got big 1/8-inch rivets that hold that. I mean, at the factory, they put that motor in, they go bap, 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 and it rivet it together, which is quicker than putting a bolt and a nut. So, and we had to buy a big rivet gun. It's almost 18 inches long, a big handle. But the bottom line, what you should do is replace you would not have two switches that are defective on an erratic scale, but you would have a motor that both switches controlled that would be erratic in behavior, and that's what you've got. Folks, that's all the time that we have for today's broadcast. Remember, another hour coming up, and remember, the Dash Pack Plus I'll be giving away at the end of the next hour. I'm Bobby Likis. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
All batteries are not created equal. Don't trust just any battery for your vehicle. An Optima battery has up to 3 times the life of a traditional flooded battery. Optima batteries are constructed with 99.99% pure lead, meaning additional power, quicker recharging, and corrosion resistance. Additionally, each Optima AGM battery is maintenance-free and completely sealed, preventing acid spills. Optima batteries, the ultimate power source. Learn more at OptimaBatteries.com. That's OptimaBatteries.com. It's time for another Berryman Hestimonial, where everyday drivers share their experiences with products featuring Hest, Berryman's exclusive high-energy solvent technology. The result is a more complete combination of available chemical technologies. James was having all sorts of issues with his vehicle, lagging, choking up, dying at idle. 1 can of B12 Chem Tool and a 60-mile round trip later, the engine was, his words, purring like a kitten. Learn more about Berryman products and their Hest technology at BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the cultivated section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the cultivated section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's vehicle protection program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll-free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
Well, here we are, folks. December, we're getting nearer and nearer the end of the year. And so to celebrate, our partners have given us a Dash Pack Plus for me to give away. And I mentioned this last week for a couple of hours, and I mentioned it the hour preceding this one. But this is the hour I'm going to give away a value of $539. It's compatible. It's the tuner. It's compatible with select GM, Ford, Dodge, Ram gasoline-powered engines. Also compatible with the 15 and 17 Ram 1500 5.7 liter and the 18 Ram. And I tell you, it's a fantastic product. It's a performance programmer from Superchips, and it features a 5-inch high-definition screen. Anyway, call. We'll put your name in a hat, and at 55 after the hour, I'm going to pull a name out of the hat. Maybe it'll be yours. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part this morning by O'Reilly Auto Parts. When it gets cold outside, your vehicle needs some extra attention, and O'Reilly Auto Parts is everything you need to keep the vehicle toasty warm. From choosing the right antifreeze for your engine to replacing your windshield wiper blades, O'Reilly will help you get your car or truck in fighting shape for the cold weather ahead. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. Your calls at 888 Car Clinic when I come back. This car repair spotlight brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. This week, we had an F-150 in with 125,000 miles and extreme brake noise. Our inspection determined it needed new pads, rotors, and one wheel bearing. So we reached out to our local O'Reilly Auto Parts professional, ordered the Brake Best pads and the Brake Best Select rotors. We chose the Brake Best Select rotors because they're factory painted, which stops the normal rust and corrosion seen on rotor hardware. During the brake job, we made sure to treat the caliper slides with Seal Glide so the calipers move freely, pads wear evenly, and the brake pedal has that firm feel. Disc brakes can feel a bit spongy when the caliper has any corrosion or rust buildup. Bottom line, new brakes should work just like the vehicle's brakes did when it came off the showroom floor. This F-150's owner was happy to have his truck back, roadworthy and on time. Another great reason our first call for parts is O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. We recently had an 09 Honda Pilot come into the shop with 169,000 miles on the odometer. The vehicle owner said the cabin was starting to smell like coolant, and he was concerned. Upon closer inspection, we found a heater core leak. Choices were to keep the vehicle and make a repair, which at best is half a day's labor plus parts, or sell the vehicle and buy a different used car that could have its own set of problems. We presented a third option, K-Seal. You've heard me talk about K-Seal before. Well, I don't just talk about it, we actually use the product in our service shop. It's a pour-in solution designed to stop leaks and help prevent future leaks. Other sealers use sodium silicate, which has a tendency to clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair the leak without clogging. Our customer went with K-Seal, and 1 month later, no more leak. Learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your hosts, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with this hour. And so that we can all be on the same page, we are going to give away, courtesy of our Power Tech partners, a Dash Pack Plus. And it's the all-new Performance Programmer from Super Chips. And it features a high-definition 5-inch screen, upgraded processor for a quick read-write speed, and monitor refresh rates. Now, I'm not just going to hand it to you. You have to have a valid car question, or you're not going to be, your name's not going to go in the hat. So to be clear, if you have a question, it doesn't have to be a genius question. Should I use synthetic oil or conventional? How much tire pressure should I run in my car? Where do you find the tire pressure listing on the vehicle? I live in New York. Should I run all season tires or winter tires? I mean, there's millions of questions, and I have millions of answers. If not, I'll tell you. But the bottom line is, we'll put your name in the hat, and at 55 after this hour, I'm going to pull somebody's name out of the hat, and you're going to love this programmer from Super Chips. In the meantime, Kevin is in the house. Hannah's on vacation. He is our call screener today. You give him your name, and he will put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. And the number to call is 888-CAR-CLINIC, 888-227-2546. That's 227-2546. That's a 888 number. Let's go to Nevada. This is one of all of the gentlemen whom I've never met, but have a close friendship with. This gentleman from Las Vegas that's joining us now is one of them. Captain Jim, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Oh, thanks, Bobby. How have you been?
Well, overworked, but healthy. And people come to me and say, when are you going to retire? And Captain Jim, I love what I do. And now it can be challenging, but I will tell you, whenever we repair a particular problem or a car problem that other shops can't or won't, I just makes my chest swell. I mean, I don't know if you heard me earlier, if you were tuned in, but Nana and Ron Shaw from Boone, North Carolina, 13-hour drive. He bought a used Avalanche, and they are in town this week, and they drove it down here to have us inspect it and offer him advice on what was wrong, what it needs to be fixed. That's a big responsibility, but I'll tell you, what a great relationship we have with these people. We just met them. We spent 4 hours with them yesterday, and Johnny, who is our shop foreman and master ASE tech, he was loaded, but we pulled him off jobs and put him on that car, and he's got a grocery list of things that we're going to suggest. And the Shaws stayed over this weekend, because they were planning on going back to Georgia, but they stayed over Monday. We're going to perform some of those services on this used vehicle, and it's an Avalanche with 175,000 miles on it, so it needs some upgrading. But he always wanted an Avalanche, and he always wanted a red one, and he got it. So we're going to work with him on Monday. So how are you, and how's your health, and how's the motorhome?
Well, I've been getting along just fine, and we drove it to St. Louis for the World's Championship this year. Everything went really good, and can't complain.
That's terrific.
Not at all.
That is
The
terrific.
reason I called is I was noticing a car called the Genesis, and I guess it's made by Hyundai. Have you had any dealings with it? I was wondering what you thought.
One of the most
Genesis.
Outstanding branded vehicles and performing vehicles that money can buy. I would buy one in a heartbeat, and if it weren't for the fact that I have a very expensive luxury car that I designed, or not designed, but had made, with the colors and the woods and what have you, my next car would be a Genesis. They are beautiful. They're beautifully made, and Hyundai has done a whale of a job. I especially like the electronics. I like the quilted look on the seats. I like the rear passenger option that you can sit. Someone can sit in the back and elevate their feet, like an aircraft, recliner. So over-the-top vehicle. I would highly recommend one. I'd have 0 reservations, because when they first came out with that car, it was a Hyundai Genesis. Now it's a Genesis, like Toyota came out with Lexus, and Lexus is standalone. So the Hyundai has done a whale of a job, and that car is over the top. I love them.
Yeah, okay, because I've been seeing commercials for it.
Yeah,
but I've never really gone and looked at one.
Well, go online.
Yeah, do that.
Go online and build you one, and which is a lot of fun, and you can experiment and see how many options. One of the challenges that I had with the Kia, it's a K900, which is a Hyundai company as well, 48%. When I drove the K900, the 2015 that they sent to me for a week, I really liked the car. Some of the metal finish and fit I didn't care for, but I love the interior. The problem was it was with one option. It had a $6,000 option, so it's a $60,000 K900 with a $6,000 option. Well, if you're going to spend $60,000 for a luxury car, you got to have the reclining seats and the screens in the back and all that. And this car had all that, but if I compared the K900 to the Genesis, the new Genesis, the Genesis would win over it, and I stand to be corrected. So if Kia wants to send me another one, I'd love to drive one, but the Genesis would be my choice and my pick. Hey, it sure is great to hear from you, and I sure thank you. Before I let you go, how was the International Chili Cook-Off, the championship?
It was really, really great. We had it at a racetrack there just out of St. Louis, and everything just went very, very well. Right. And we have a new owner of the
have a what? We lost him, huh? Yeah, his phone. Captain Jim, thank you so much. We lost you there. We can't hear you, so we'll look forward to maybe you calling back. In the meantime, we'll take a call from Frank. Frank, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hi, Bobby. Long-time listener, first-time caller,
Okay.
and really appreciate you and your program.
Thank you.
I've been considering purchasing a Porsche 911 just for a fun car, just something to throw around and have some fun with. I've owned a couple in the past, but I've been looking into the 996 and 997 series, and I understand and have read extensively about problems with the IMS bearings in the car. And I was wondering if you had any insight or any advice that you would give somebody looking to purchase one of those.
I will say this, 911s, and I own one if you've listened to the program. 911 they're fantastic vehicles. It's beyond me how Porsche can continue to create so many iterations, and to that end, I, for one, just don't believe I would, not ever, because I don't want to say never, would buy a new 911, because the 911s all looked, if you parked 5 on the curb and they're different years, makes and models, and they're all clean and pristine, which one is the new one? And
yeah.
which one cost $150,000 and which one cost $40,000? And so for that reason, now, a good friend of mine who retired out of the Air Force bought a turbo 911. As I remember, it was a 2011 model or so. He only paid $40,000 for this vehicle that I'm sure sold for $90,000 or whatever. And I don't know the exact model it was. Maybe it was 996. But it had some slight oil leaks, but no issues. I said all that to say this, Frank. You should do your due diligence and look online, because buying used 911s and finding used 911s that have been upgraded to get beyond the specific known issues, which are not very many, but are very well known, very common, because that car has been around so long, I would opt for a later model, lower mileage, updated vehicle. Or if you really like the 04, I would ask for the service records, because whatever issues that one has, surely many of the same vehicles would have that same issue. Does that answer your question?
It does, and there is a lot of information online. I know that you had a Porsche, and I thought you may have had some
let me give
particular experience.
Let me give you one website, and this is a free plug. I am not endorsing this company, but I have every day I go there to look at the price of 911s and what have you, because that's where I intend to put my Porsche whenever I make the decision to sell it. It's called bringatrailer.com. Just like you want to pick up a car that you buy, it's an auction.
Yeah.
And it's bringatrailer.com. You pay $99, period, for 7 days exposure, and the buyer pays them a percentage of the vehicle. Check it out. It's a great site, and I intend to offer my car when I make that decision. It's called bringatrailer.com. I'll take your calls, Kathy and Freddie, when I come back. This Engine Care Spotlight is brought to you by Walker Products, a leading manufacturer of quality fuel system components and engine sensors. Today's vehicles are being pushed to new heights with increased fuel economy and fewer tailpipe emissions, which has created the need for a smarter and more sophisticated exhaust after-treatment system, featuring an array of sensors designed to help monitor and control the different aspects of vehicle operation and health. The EGT, or exhaust gas temperature sensor, plays a major role in multiple processes, and it's critical that the EGT is performing within their limits. But not all EGT sensors are created equal. Housing styles and materials vary, in addition to resistance types and temperature ratings. It's imperative that a consumer replace their EGT sensor with a correct OEM factory-style sensor. Walker Products has been supplying the automotive aftermarket since 1946 and manufactures all of its EGTs using only OEM-based sensors. Need a new sensor? Walker Products offers OE quality at aftermarket prices. Drive to walkerproducts.com. Berryman Products is celebrating their 100th anniversary, providing innovative products to the automotive aftermarket, like Berryman Chem-Dip carburetor parts cleaner that helps remove gum, varnish, fuel residue, and other harmful deposits from carburetor parts and throttle bodies without heat, aeration, or agitation. Berryman Chem-Dip carburetor parts cleaner is safe to use with most plastic and metal carburetor and throttle body parts, including steel and aluminum alloys. Learn more at berrymanproducts.com.
What 100-year-old automotive company makes dozens of products to extend your vehicle's life and improve its performance?
Let me see.
Which company uses high-energy solvent technology, or HEST?
It's on the tip of my tongue.
What company introduced B12 Chem Tool over 40 years ago? Still the best fuel system cleaner on the market?
Oh, don't tell me it's
Berryman Automotive Products. Correct. Berryman Automotive Products has lubricants, cleaners, solvents, hundreds of solutions, and every product all American-made since 1918. You'll find Berryman Automotive Products at AutoZone, Pep Boys, and Walmart. Now, why would you buy anything else?
You sure ask a lot of questions.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone
From Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, it's time for you to call in with your car questions to get your name in a hat to perhaps be the lucky winner of the Super Chips Dash Pack Plus, which is a programmer that adds horsepower and torque and gas mileage, depending on how you drive, but it will add gas mileage because the bottom line is the more power and torque your engine has for the same amount of weight to power ratio. So if you got a car that's got a 400 horsepower engine and it weighs 4,000 pounds and you add 100 horsepower or 5 horsepower, it will perform better and get better gas mileage, provided you don't nail the throttle and drag race with it, obviously. But anyway, put your name in the hat, 888 Car Clinic. Call now. Kevin will put your name in the hat, and that's 888-227-2546. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part this morning by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. You can learn more about their products and their industry-leading application coverage at motorradusa.com. Kathy from New York. Good morning, Kathy. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
Good morning. How you doing?
Terrific. You?
Doing okay. We have a question. My husband and I are ready to purchase a new pickup truck. We have a Chevy now. We're going to get rid of the Chevy, and now we're deciding between an F-150 and a Dodge Ram. I've been online, looked at all the reviews. Everyone's opinion goes back and forth on both vehicles. So what does my expert have to say?
Well, years ago, I was a diehard, avid Ford fan, and I raced Fords. Ultimately, I went over to the Hemi because I escalated from drag racing from car drag racing and dragsters to rails, rear engine drag rails. So I ran a half-inch stroker, 500 cubic inch Hemi engine. So I have a soft spot in my heart and my experience for both. Fast forward to today, just this week, one of our great Car Clinic customers came in with a Ram, and our service manager's in school this week, so I've been working the door, long hours and what have you. But I pulled the Ram in, and there were cars blocking, so I went around the building, came in the back, and pulled it straight into the stall. And I really like. And now I'm not a truck person, Kathy. Let me preface it by saying that I just don't have any need for a truck. But this Ram really had a beautiful interior. It had a great feel. It was chocolate cocoa color, and it had leathers, and so I was really surprised, and I liked it. I know that Ford has some options and what have you. Let me ask this question: are you going to buy a gas power or diesel power?
It'll definitely be gas.
Okay.
And we're looking at the Lariat model.
Well, the Lariat would be a fantastic. That's here's the pro and con. The Ford's aluminum, so it's 732 pounds lighter than its predecessor for like 2014. So you've got automatically increased MPG. Have you compared the MPG between the Ram and the aluminum-bodied Ford Lariat?
Yeah, well, the Lariat we're looking at does not have the EcoBoost on it, so we're at about 18 miles per gallon.
I would not buy any Ford. I would not buy any Ford that was not an EcoBoost. I can rule that out. Absolutely not.
Okay, that's good.
Okay, absolutely not. If it's not EcoBoost, don't buy it. That's one of the best high-performance MPG-getting vehicles that you can buy, money can buy. So I'd buy a Ford EcoBoost, or I would buy the Ram with a Hemi engine. The Ram with a Hemi engine will not match the EcoBoost Ford with regard to MPG and available torque per liter. So what I would do is I would go drive both of those vehicles, because both of those vehicles are, I like both of those vehicles. I think I'm a little skewing, much to my surprise, toward the Ram from a standpoint of the one that I just drove yesterday, or drove around the building, but I got in it and felt it. Having said that, if you get a loaded Lariat EcoBoost, then you'll be assured that you have plenty of power when you want it, when you need it, and the resale value of the EcoBoost is going to be way over a non-EcoBoost. So if that helps you, I mean, it's not a direct answer, because you still have to choose which one you want, but for me, the only Ford would have to be an EcoBoost loaded up with luxurious interior, or I mean, because how often do you buy a new car? You may as well buy, I'm not one for going on the lot and finding one that I hope that almost fits my specs. I'm one for ordering a new car. So for you that would be my choice. I would go to Ford.com and Dodge.com or Ram.com, and I would build my two vehicles using the EcoBoost as the powertrain, and then using the Hemi as the Ram powertrain, and then I would compare the out-the-door price, of the build. That's not what you're going to pay, but at least that's what the suggested list price, and then check MPG and availability and go from there. You got it?
I do have it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
I appreciate your call from New York there, Kathy, and wish you well. Let's go to take a call from Freddie. Freddie, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Yes, sir.
What can I do for you?
Let's see, I have a 92 Chevy S10, and when I get up, like operating temperature, like 2.5 miles down the road or so, it'll start backfiring and sputtering, and I'll have to pull over and let it cool down a little bit. And I don't know what in the world makes it do that.
Yeah, if it's a 92 S10, there are two known, coil packs and would cause that problem. Crank sensors, cam sensors could cause that problem. But there's an animal under the hood called a spider injection system. And that spider injection system was a mistake when it was made, and they came out with a later model version, and it's less of a mistake. It's an update. Okay. So the intake manifold, Freddie, on those engines, it's like the lungs of the engine. Well, injectors are usually on the outside, pointing into the intake port, but in that spider, they took the manifold and they separated it, and they put the injectors inside, and you got one or two injectors, and you got hoses that run inside. So it seemed like a real novel idea, and sort of compact. But in the big scheme of things, age and miles gave S10 a lot of fits. So your problem is going to end up being a crank sensor or a spider injector and or a fuel pump. The first thing I would do if I were you is remove the fuel filter and inspect the fuel that comes out of the fuel filter and back pour the filter like you pan for gold. You take the filter off. You take the filter off, which you can't do on a lot of cars these days because they're in a tank. But on yours, you take the fuel filter off and you pour the fuel that's in that filter into like a pie pan, and you pour it in the opposite direction that it flows, and then whatever trash is in it will flow out. And you'll see, if you see flakes of metal flakes, it needs a pump. Doesn't mean that's going to fix the problem, but you need a pump. So that's what I'd recommend for you. And thanks for your call.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome, sir. Next caller is Dale from Washington. Dale, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Well, thanks, Bobby, for taking my call. Long-time listener. I've got a question here that might be basic. You could figure it out and tell me what I should do. I got 3 rigs sitting outside. 360 V8, 76 Dodge motorhome, a 1/2 80, 1/2 ton 80 Chevy 350 V8, and a 89 Mercedes inline 6.
Okay.
What I'm wondering, I haven't drove them for about 5 years. The Mercedes, of course, it's inside in a garage. I want to know what I should do before I try and crank them. It's been about 5 years before I had them running,
5 years is a long time. Number one, the fuel that's in those cars has to go away. So the first thing you do is you would put a known good battery in those vehicles. At 5 years, I wouldn't even charge the battery. I wouldn't waste my time. I would put a known good battery. And by the way, my choice for the battery is an AGM. You've heard me talk about the AGM made by Johnson Controls. So I'd put it in the Mercedes specifically, because I think that battery's in the trunk of that vehicle. I would put an AGM. So you put a known quality battery. The challenge.
It's up front, and
is it
okay? Mercedes battery's up front under the hood.
On the hood, on the right side. Okay, it's either in the
it's an 89 Mercedes. Okay. 300E.
The challenge with those cars, and your question is the fuel. We know the fuel is old. We know the fuel is no good. So what you do, you put the battery in, turn the key on, do not crank it, and check to see how much fuel is in it. And if you have like a quarter of a tank or an eighth of a tank, you could get away with putting 5 gallons of new gas in the old 2 or 3 or 4 gallons that's in the car, and then check the oil and what have you, and hey, turn the key. I would cycle the key and use this procedure for all 3 of those cars. I put the new battery in. You could try this with the first one. Take your pick, whichever one. I tend to go with the Mercedes. and put the new battery in, put 5 gallons of new gas on top of 5 gallons of old gas. I mean, you'd like to drain it, but that's, it's probably not necessary, but it's probably not possible to do it safely. And so now, if you have a half a tank of old 5-year-old gas, probably need to siphon, some out of there. And they make siphoners that you don't have to, don't try to do it on yourself. So I would siphon some of the old gas out, and because they have a restricted, unleaded, you have to use a small 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch fuel line. And the reason I know that is because I had to do that during the hurricane, because my Porsche sits out here with 20 gallons of gas in it, and it was the only gas that I had back in 04 for a week around here, because we had the hurricane. So I did siphon the gas, but it took me forever to get 5 gallons out of it, but I was sure glad I had that that stash. So I would put a new gas on top of the old gas. I checked the oil. I'd put the starter in it, and I would just cycle the key. And here's the trick. Cycle the key from off to run, not crank, 5 times. Because every time you cycle the key off and then run, the fuel pump will bzzz, and you can hear this in the Mercedes, bzzz, and it'll run for 3/4 of a second. And that will prime all the injectors, and then spin it over and see if it starts and go from there. If it doesn't start in the first couple of minutes of attempting, don't continue, because you'll do damage to the engine. But I don't think that you will damage the engine doing that. That's a great question. I have a more lengthy answer.
Yeah, they all run good when I let them sit there. And but the thing about it is, I've heard it said that the person should hand crank it.
Well, you should turn it over by hand. That's hard to do. I got to go. A hard break. Don't touch that dial. I'll be back. Talking tunes? No, not the ones on your radio. The ones that allow you to reprogram your vehicle's factory computer without even popping the hood. The result is more power, more torque, and a better overall driving experience. We recently sat down with Jim McGinn, Vice President of Marketing for Power Tech. Jim touched on some of the additional products Diablo Sport has to offer.
In addition to the Diablo Sport lineup of tuners, Diablo Sport also offers Jammer cold air intake systems and Hooker Blackheart exhaust kits. These kits work in concert with the Predator 2, Intune i3, and Trinity 2 programmers to deliver increased fuel economy, mileage, and overall performance for your gas truck or SUV.
Folks, Diablo Sports performance products make the perfect holiday gift, and now is a perfect time to buy with their holidays savings. How cool is that? You get up to 20% off SRP on their extensive lineup of premium performance products. Learn more at DiabloSport.com. That's DiabloSport.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease. She showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. A really great program today. And I want to share with you some information from our partners at the Car Care Council. If you're traveling this holiday season, remember to follow the 3 P's of car care: prepare, prevent, and plan. You can save money and avoid breakdowns. And for more information, our partners give that to you free at carcare.org. You can learn more. There are videos there. There's even a car maintenance booklet that makes a great stocking stuffer. Yeah, that's right, stocking stuffer. That sound right? Okay, stocking stuffer. Christmas stocking stuffer. You say that 3 times. Okay, the Car Care Council. Go to carcare.org and you can browse around that site, and you can find a lot of information, and it's a nonprofit organization, and we're proud to be partners with them. Okay, we're going to take more calls. 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546 from New York. Mike, thank you for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hello, Bobby. How are you today?
I'm terrific. How about yourself?
Good. I've got a problem with an F-250 Ford Super Duty 2005, and it's the TCD code comes up on the odometer, which is the trailer brake module.
Yes, sir.
And my Ford dealership, they did not know what was causing this to happen. The parts supervisor, he went on a Ford forum, 2 of them actually, and found that there was several people with the same problem and very few answers on how to fix it, none specifically, and basically everybody's looking for help. And it pops up. It doesn't matter whether the trailer's on the car or off the car. Or truck. It just happens. And wondering if you've run across that at all.
Well, we have, Mike. And in fact, now with the information that I'm going to share with you, it actually happened in our service shop, but it was not for a Ford. It was, as I remember, it was for a GM vehicle. In fact, there's a local company, been in business for 63 years now, and it's a roofing company, and I needed a roof on my house because I had a leak over the fireplace. And the roof wasn't the problem, but the roof was old and needed to be replaced. And so I called this company. Their number one shop foreman was a gentleman named Angel, and he drove a Chevrolet vehicle, and he came out to inspect the roof, and he was the crew champion there for like 2.5 days. They did the whole job in 2.5 days. My neighbors were shocked. So was I, and I loved it. Anyway, bottom line, we put some aftermarket headlights and taillights in his car for him that he had purchased. And over the last couple of years, a year or so, he's really been a great customer. He had a trailer brake module to go bad. He drives a GM. And we tested it, you know, Johnny, our master shop foreman and master tech, tested it several times, and it was expensive, so he didn't replace it early on. This week, or last week, I think it was last week, we put a new module. The module is located, as our memory serves me, under the spare tire, outside of the passenger's, in the bed, under the bed. So it's exposed to the elements, although it's a sealed unit, and it still has wires that plug in it and yada yada. But anyway, we put a trailer brake control module because of the same issue that you're having, and fixed that vehicle. But we put it off for like a year. Then finally, when he got into a financial situation, he said, this truck, and the truck is nice. It's a white crew cab, GMC or Silverado, one of the two, and the module. So for me, my directions would be for you to find an ASE certified technician there in New York, and you can go to asashop.org. You've heard me mention that organization. It's the Automotive Service Association. It's asashop.org. And unfortunately, I'm not happy with their site because it's made for shops. So if you're a consumer, they've made it a little hard for you to find a local shop. But if you scroll down to the bottom, like in the credits, on some websites, if you scroll down to the very bottom of the page, you'll see Find a Shop. And I think they have a tab on the top, but anyway, you can find a local shop that has ASE, and you call. Are you familiar with this, brake control module and testing? And so in my heart of hearts, I mean, Ford, Chevy, Dodge, they all use similar modules. I don't know that Ford's mounted, above the spare tire under the bed, but I know that GM's are, and that was a problem that we solved for this gentleman. And Johnny tested it a year ago, retested it when the gentleman decided he had the money to fix it, and we put a new module. That's probably what it's going to take to fix your car. You got it?
I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for your call, Mike. Take another call from Joe. Joe, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hi, good afternoon, or good morning, actually.
Good morning, sir.
It's first time hearing your show, and
really?
I love it. It's so informative. I have a 2007 Dodge Durango with the 5.7 Hemi.
Okay, sir.
136,000 miles, runs like a top. Everything works in it. I wouldn't get rid of it for anything. My question is a K&N air filter.
Right.
Is it something I should do for more power and more efficiency?
Well, what we do on some of those cars is we install the K&N filter. We also upgrade the running gear to synthetic oil, including the differential and on 4xs the transfer case and what have you. All the transfer cases and front and rear diff. Is yours a 4x or a rear drive?
It's a 4x.
Okay. Well, here's the challenge, and my heart of hearts, Joe. You're not going to feel a significant increase in power with a K&N or that upgrade unless you modify the program of the engine, because it's a four-wheel drive truck. It's geared relatively low, and it's got a lot of grunt power, a lot of torque, but you have two differentials, you have 3 drive shafts, you have a transfer case, so you have a lot of parasitic draw. I mean, I bet you that engine, if let's just say that it came from the factory with a 300 horsepower rating or a 400, you're at the rear wheels, you'd be lucky to get 212 or 230 out of it at the front and rear wheels in your case. So, but having said that, I still would endorse a free flow air filter, and I would endorse synthetics only because they are superior in the additive packages and also the base stocks of the gear oil. So that's what I would do if I were you. But again,
I appreciate that.
I don't know that you're going to really feel any difference, because just for your information, you have to put 100 horsepower on an engine. I'll take that back. For every 100 pounds of weight in the vehicle, it takes 10 horsepower. And in your Hemi, that means that if you put a 150-pound person with you, you're losing 15 horsepower, because it takes 15 horsepower to carry 150 pounds. The challenge with that is you have so much that you have a lot of headroom, it's called, so you have a lot of forgiveness. If you have a 4-cylinder automobile without a turbo and you put 2 people in the car, you can feel it. But if you have a turbo, the turbo, it gives that little extra horsepower. So, but in the big scheme of things, you have nothing to lose. I mean, you're not talking about a lot of money, and the K&N's not expensive. I don't know that I would go with a cold air intake. I think I would go with a filter and leave the box stock as it is. I favor the factory box for your vehicle over a cold air. So the filter upgrade only is what I recommend there, and synthetic for the running gear and engine, because that's a no-brainer. Hey, thanks for your call, Joe.
Thank you for that information. I appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. 888 Car Clinic, it's exciting to me just to bring you information and to hear you say that, you appreciate what we do. because I'm a car guy, and I have 47 years in automotive service, and just this week spending 8 and 10, 12 hours a day at the service desk. So I interact with car owners every day. That can be a chore. That can be, we have a gentleman pops in, we got 20 cars in the shop, we're loaded up, we're trying to get the cars out for the day. He walks in and says, yeah, I need to put 4 tires on my car, and I got the tires and changed oil and filter. I said, did you have an appointment? Well, no, I just, well, really? So we couldn't do it because we already obligated for that days. Okay, stocking stuffers. I don't know why I'm having trouble with that today. Stocking stuffer ideas, and this is from our partners at CarStar. And CarStar really wants to, and through me, wish everyone a happy holiday. And CarStar, just for those of you not familiar, offer high-quality, reliable collision repair service in 35 states. You can go to 800 CarStar in case of an accident, and they can send a tow truck. They can contact your insurance company. They can arrange for rentals, repair the car. And this is a terrific organization. I know these people and have known these people for years, and I know executives behind the scenes, and they're passionate about what they do. And here's what their idea is for some gifts for the holiday season, which I think is really cool. Race car experience. Now, these are from our partner at CarStar. Race car experience. You have a chance to race around a nearby track in a high-end race car. You look online for an experience gift that any race car fan would love. These are ideas from CarStar. Number 2, I have 4. Maintenance service. So Meineke offers gift cards so you can ensure your loved one that their car is safer and ready for the road. Number 3, a road trip. You can gift a GPS, and that'll help any vacationer get to where they're going the right time the first time. I mean, we all use GPS these times of days. And number 4, matching the ride. What does that mean? You can find the perfect addition to their wardrobe by getting them gear of their favorite car brand. Or, maybe it's a Dodge Ram, or maybe it's a Ford, or what, you get a hat, a cap, or that's a great. And here's some handy items that CarStar also suggests: windshield sunshade, roadside emergency kit, by all means, a great suggestion. A cell phone charger, duh, and then also a battery recharge, which is one of those small high-tech. You use it to help someone jumpstart their car. Now, when I say jumpstart, I don't mean jumpstart, because you should never jumpstart a car that has a dead battery. Well, what do you mean? Well, you do it all the time. We do. But here's the proper way to do it. So I want you to twist your thinking here and tweak it and go away from jumpstart and go into the recharge mode. So when you help someone with your good battery and their bad battery, your car's running, don't hook the cables up and say, okay, try it now. Give that car a minimum of 3 full minutes so that the good battery can put some juice back in the bad battery. And here's the main, and so many people say, I tried to jump my car, it wouldn't jump off. Well, no, that's because you don't want to jump start it, you want to charge the dead battery using a jump start. But you don't do it immediately. You hook up the good to the bad, you wait a minimum of 3 minutes, and then you say, okay, try it now. And here's why. The low battery, come on in, Jonathan. The low battery will have time to charge some of its charge because the battery and the starter both vie for the jump at the same time. So the bad battery wants to suck all the juice from the good battery, and the starter says, I need my share to turn over the starter. So both of those draw power from the jump battery, and they cannot do it. The cables can't deliver that kind of power across the board. So that's why you should hook up a jump starter and give it time. Okay, all right, for those of you that watch Bobby Live, I'm going to pull a name out of the hat. Here's the hat. Oh, by the way, it's a Car Clinic hat. and it has looks like a rubber tread on it on the beak. It's really neat that we bought these things. So this is, I'll pull it out. The winner of the Super Chips Dash Pack Plus is from New York. And remember, the Dash Pack Plus is the all-new performance programmer from Super Chips. Features a 5-inch high-definition screen, an upgraded processor for quick read-write speed, and a monitor refresh rate that is over the top. And a lot of other innovative features like Wi-Fi, multiple vehicle license options, and the option to load custom tunes using the Diablo Sports CMR software from our partners at PowerTech. We're going to give away a unit that's compatible with select GM, Ford, Dodge Ram powered vehicles to Kathy, a caller for today in New York. So, Kathy, if you're still tuned in, call us back, and we'd love to hear and get your contact information, which I'm disappointed that we didn't get that to start with. But if you're listening in New York, Kathy, you are the winner of our Absolute Dash Pack Plus tuner. And congratulations to Kathy in New York. And folks, I want to wish you happy holidays. If you're traveling, go to carcare.org for safe tips. In the meantime, tune in next week for the same great information right here at Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
When it comes to safety, nothing is more important than your vehicle's brakes. If it's hard to stop or you hear squealing or grinding noises during braking, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts. You'll find the brake parts you need from trusted brands like Brake Best and Brake Best Select at everyday low prices. Play it safe with brakes from O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Coolant leaks can be expensive, with repairs costing a few $1,000s or more. And these problems often hit vehicles late in life when they may be only worth a few $1,000s. There is an alternative. K-Seal is a pour-in solution designed to stop leaks and help prevent future leaks. Older sealers use sodium silicate, which has a tendency to clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair the leak without clogging. Learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain